6 spine-chilling Home Alone horror encounters. What was discovered will terrify you to your core. Every night, as the clock inched toward midnight, Mia settled into her routine, cocooned in her suburban home. The soft creaks of the wooden floors beneath her feet painted a familiar picture, lulling her into solitude. But tonight something felt wrong. As darkness blanketed the neighborhood, an unsettling chill slithered into her sanctuary, a creeping tension that coiled tight around her spine. Low thumps echoed through the house, whispers skittering through the air like unseen shadows. At first, it felt like just her imagination haunted by late-night horror flicks and her mother's old ghost stories. But then, a flicker in the hallway jerked her heart into a rapid race. She dropped her novel, her breathing quickening as the whispers morphed from distant murmurs into an insistent call. Mia! They seemed to taunt her, teasingly curling around her name, wrapping it in dread. Panic surged through her, each thump echoing through the night and gnawing at her already fragile sense of security. She shook her head, trying to dismiss the unease that burned in her gut. This was stupid, just sounds, nothing more. But as she crept toward her mother's room, the air thick with foreboding, every shadow felt alive. The hairs on the back of her neck prickled as she entered the dimly lit room, the bed unmade, the air stale and heavy with secrets. While rummaging beneath the bed, her fingers brushed against something unexpected, a tattered journal. Heart racing, she flicked it open. The scrawled words sent shivers through her. The reclaimer seeks those who have forgotten their past. Each line oozed mystery and danger, painting a portrait of an ancient spirit that preyed on straying families. Suddenly, the air shifted. The very walls seemed to swell, suffocating her as the once familiar sounds morphed into sinister whispers. Mia felt the warmth of her home turn icy, shadows dancing with malicious intent. The flickering lights became wild, casting eerie shapes as the voices rose, now a cacophony of tortured spirits murmuring fragmented stories of loss and despair. "You're one of us now," they seemed to chant. In a frenzied moment, Mia's phone vibrated, her mother's name flashing on the screen. "Mom!" She nearly screamed, but a chilling static greeted her, then her name again echoed. Mia. It clawed at her sanity, each syllable drenched in impending doom. Desperate, she rushed to the front door, yearning for fresh air and safety. But the handle felt like ice, chills rippling up her arm. An unseen force held it firmly, locking her inside the very heart of her fears. Thoughts of friendly neighbors and warm dinners faded, now cloaked in a sinister veil of secrets. Mia stumbled back, mind racing. She remembered her mother's hushed warnings about the neighborhood's dark past, and the whispers seemed to weave through her thoughts. "It's too late to leave," a voice rasped. Icy hands gripped her heart as it resonated from the kitchen, sending her into frozen horror. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With fear splintering through her veins, Mia steeled herself against the pulsating dread. The sinister grip of her family's past closed in around her, the very walls whispering secrets she was never meant to know. Shadows crept closer, the air thick with anticipation. Unable to predict what would come next, she braced for a confrontation with the malevolent spirit. Each moment felt like an eternity, and as she stood there, she knew primal instincts would soon pit her against a darkness she could no longer ignore. The house groaned, its hunger palpable, and Mia realized with unsettling clarity that the real horror had only just begun. Mia's heart thundered violently against her ribs, sending shock waves of adrenaline surging through her. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, trying to gather her thoughts, trying to drown out the whispers. "You're one of us now," the phrase echoed in her head. A stone dropped into the depths of her mind, rippling into fears she couldn't shake off. The kitchen door creaked open slowly, as if inviting her into a phantom realm. She felt the pull, an unnatural force calling her deeper into its cold embrace. Against her better judgment, she took a step toward the darkness, the floorboards creaking underfoot, each sound amplified in the thick silence. As she entered, the kitchen felt wrong, like a memory twisted and distorted. The familiar scent of her mother's cooking was replaced with a sickly sweetness, far too inviting for the dread it promised. The lights flickered again, and Mia caught a glimpse of something beneath the table, a shadow, formless but utterly palpable, curled like a cat ready to pounce. "Mia!" The voice echoed again, now clearer and sharper, chilling her to the bone. Laughter broke through the whispers, low, sinister laughter that made her heart race faster. She bit her lip, fighting the urge to scream. Suddenly, the journal in her hand slipped from her grasp, landing open on the cold tile floor. The pages fluttered wildly as if caught in a windstorm, landing on a passage that made her blood run cold. The reclaimer feasts on fear and sorrow. To confront it, one must reclaim their past. To fight, they must remember. Her pulse quickened. Remember? What could it mean? She had been aware of her past, hadn't she? Shadows raced around her vision, writhing like restless spirits, and the laughter morphed into a horrific melody. She clamped her hands over her ears, desperate to drown it out. In that moment of pain, a chilling realization struck her, cold as ice. She had forgotten. Forgotten what? Was it the secrets her mother kept? The stories whispered during candlelit nights? She felt the echoes of memories clawing at her mind, trying to break free. Fear clawed its way back into her chest, a suffocating grip that left her gasping. With trembling hands, she reached for the journal, flipping through the pages as if they held the key to her freedom. Each word felt like a scream from within the walls of her home, reverberating against her skin. A noise behind her made her freeze. The door to the pantry creaked open, revealing darkness. Something was lurking in there. Mia, a voice beckoned from the shadowed depths, soft yet demanding. It wrapped around her like a noose. Hesitating, she took a cautious step back. This couldn't be happening. This was a nightmare, right? But the icy chill spreading through her bones was very real. Something was waiting, wanting, needing. Time slowed. She felt her courage dwindle as the shapes coiling in her peripheral vision began to close in, voices whispering frantic, incoherent pleas for release. Help us, they urged. Mia needed to confront the darkness, to grasp the past that slipped through her fingers like grains of sand. But what if the truth was worse than she could bear? Suddenly, the shadows lunged at her, a wave of blackness crashing against her as her scream echoed through the house. This was no ordinary night. She was being pulled into a hidden history, one that echoed with screams long forgotten. The only question that remained, would she emerge to tell the tale, or would she become one with the whispers forever? In that moment of terrifying clarity, she knew she had to dive deeper into the memory, into the darkness. The Reclaimer's game had only just begun. The shadows engulfed her, smothering her in a cold, suffocating darkness. It felt as if the very air had conspired against her, thickening with dread. As Mia struggled to breathe, the laughter twisted, becoming a cacophony of echoing voices. They taunted her, drowning out rational thought. You are not alone. You never were. With her heart pounding, Mia ducked beneath the kitchen table, hiding from the unseen terror encroaching. The journal lay just out of reach, its pages flapping helplessly, almost mocking her in the silence that followed. She could feel the warmth of the wood beneath her, grounding her, a small comfort in the thick dread. But even here, shadows loomed, dancing along the walls like malevolent wraiths hungry for her fear. Mia, that voice again, deep and resonating. It was a caress and a curse rolled into one. A voice she felt she should know, but twisted with familiarity. Come, we're waiting. The pantry door creaked wider, the darkness spilling out like smoke. With trembling fingers, she pulled her knees closer to her chest, hoping to shrink away from the horror that awaited. The echo of her mother's soft lullabies danced through the chaos, fleeting memories floating like ghostly wisps. But they faded as the sinister laughter swelled anew, merging with the whispers. Help us. Something shifted in the shadows, an entity rippled through the darkness. Mia squinted, trying to catch a glimpse of form or face, but it remained stubbornly hidden. She shut her eyes tight, picturing her safe place, her childhood bedroom, the lull of the rain outside. But now, it was nothing but a fragile memory, drowning in terror. Then she remembered the stories her mother told late at night, always ending with a warning. Never forget where you came from, Mia. They want what you have. Your fear, your life. The pieces click viciously into place, a deep shudder running through her body. What do you want? She cried out, voice trembling. The shadows paused, as if stunned by her challenge. The laughter morphed again, turning into something more sinister, more real. You already know. Her heart sank. It wasn't a question, it was a jeer. Goosebumps spidered across her skin. The crawling sensation intensified, fear coiling tightly around her throat. With determination she hadn't felt before, Mia crawled out from under the table, clutching the journal to her chest, its cover now glowing faintly. Your mother wanted to protect you, the voice cooed, now seductive, echoing from the pantry. But what did she hide from you? She didn't prepare you for this. Bolstered by a cocktail of trepidation and anger, she shouted into the void, show yourself. The shadows rippled, and suddenly, the darkness began to coalesce. Figures formed, faces trapped in agony, their mouths wide in silent screams. Mia gasped, the sight a slap against her senses. Each specter bore a resemblance to someone she recognized, relatives, friends long gone, all calling out with eyes that begged for freedom. Release us, they chanted in sync, their voices a chorus of desperation. The spectral hands reached towards her, fingers ethereal yet insistent. Mia staggered back, almost tripping on her own fear. This isn't happening. You're not real. But deep inside, she felt the truth clawing to the surface, the gnawing dread of memories she couldn't fully grasp, the truths she deep pushed away. But the reclaimer knew. It thrived on her anguish, feeding on her sorrow. The flickering light surged, plunging her deeper into despair. You will remember, Mia. The past is never truly gone. With a jolt, Mia snapped, her eyes open wide, determination blooming against the pull of terror. I'm not afraid. But as the words spilled from her lips, a shadow surged forward, lunging toward her, its icy grip seizing her heart. The laughter peaked, echoing in manic joy. The walls trembled, and she could almost feel the floor beneath her crack and quake. Would this be where she finally confronted the reclaimer, or would these memories swallow her whole? The truth was closer than she thought, lurking in the spaces between every heartbeat. She had to face them, face the past. But what if the truth was a monster, waiting to devour her whole? As she braced for impact, the shadows seemed to snicker, swirling like a dark vortex, ready to erase her from everything she ever was. The darkness lunged at her, the cold grip tightening around her heart like a vice. Mia let out a strangled cry, stumbling backward as shadows erupted around her, wild and ravenous, eager to consume her whole. The world twisted, the air thickened, clawing at her throat as her mind fought against the panic. Mia, the voices dripped with malice, weaving through her thoughts. Join us. She pressed the journal tighter to her chest, its glow pulsating like a heartbeat, a beacon in the suffocating void. She could feel the weight of the specter's gaze, their lingering grief clawing at her sanity. Memories flickered behind her eyes, laughter around the dinner table, gentle hugs from her mother, the smell of rain-soaked earth. Yet, the more she clung to the light of those memories, the more the shadows pressed down, suffocating her hope. Your mother was afraid, Mia, the voice coiled around her. Afraid of what would happen if you knew the truth. They surged forward, gliding like smoke, but their eyes, oh those eyes, betrayed a centuries-old anguish. Each glance burned into her soul, igniting the embers of her primal fear. No! She shouted, her voice echoing back in defiance, trembling yet fierce. You don't control me! The floor splintered beneath her feet. An unseen force dragged her closer to the pantry, the door swinging wide open, revealing a vortex of dark whispers. Ancient memories clawed at her mind. She stumbled, a vision of a small child staring into the darkness, fear etched into her face like a scream trapped in time. Was that her? Help us, set us free, they chorused, a tidal wave of voices drowning out her thoughts. And then it hit her, a realization so horrifying she nearly choked on it. Those were her fears, her shadows that she had hidden away, swirling around like a dark fog. If she dared to confront them, What would rise from the depths? What other truths lay buried within her past? Mia's heart raced. She forced herself forward, drawn to the glowing journal that pulsed as if it were alive. She flipped it open, pages revealing words scrawled in desperate handwriting. Her mother's words, the promises of protection, of secrets, of what must not be shared. It felt like a spell, holding the truth at arm's length, a fence around her from the monsters lurking. Whispers intensified, an overwhelming pitch. You cannot escape, you belong to us. The laughter invaded her mind, sticky and rancid. Mia's resolve quivered but would not break. I will not let you win! She screamed, unfurling the old pages. They felt electric against her fingertips, crackling with energy she didn't understand. As she recited her mother's incantations, the shadows halted. The agitated wails morphed into a stifled hush. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. The world around her paused, breaths held. Is this how it ends? She whispered to the air, trembling with anticipation. Suddenly, the figures lunged, a mass of swirling despair and rage clawing toward her, their moans becoming a deafening roar. Mia pressed on, forcing the words from her mouth, a frantic rhythm echoing against the walls, battling against the tide. The journal glowed brighter, illuminating the pantry, revealing fleeting glimpses of the past, a flicker of her mother's face, memories lost yet vivid, the hurt and the love both mingling together. Face it, the darkness hissed, face what you truly are. The walls shimmered, her voice interlacing with the shadows, building toward a climax. What had been hidden was breaking free, clawing to the surface. But suddenly, as the shadows began to sway and twist under her words, something deep within the dark grasp reached back, more vicious, more determined than before. She felt it surging forward, the reclaimer itself, thrumming with echoes of her deepest fears. Mia's breath hitched. No! But the shadows beckoned, offering sweet releases of terror. In that moment, she stood at the precipice, heart racing, mind teetering on the edge of darkness. What price would she pay to reclaim her past? And as the air thickened and the shadows howled, she was left to wonder, would confronting her fears save her, or unleash a nightmare she could never escape? The shadows surged, wrapping around Mia like ivy choking a dying tree. She felt their icy tendrils clawing at her skin, digging deeper, whispering secrets of despair that made her throat dry. The journal pulsed harder against her chest, a heartbeat out of sync with her own, urging her to push forward, to fight back. Face the truth, Mia, the voices warbled, distorted echoes swelling and crashing in her mind. Only then will you be free. But what did freedom mean in a world consumed by darkness? Was it worth the price of her sanity? She clutched the journal tighter, fingers tremoring as the words inside swam and shimmered, tantalizingly out of reach. The shadows closed in, their faces flickering like dying flames, and somewhere deep within each pair of eyes was a glimmer of recognition, her own reflection hidden beneath layers of pain. Unyielding, Mia opened her mouth and forced the words from the ancient text. I am more than my fears. I am not just a shadow. The moment the phrase left her lips, the room convulsed. She was jolted back, colliding with the wall, shadows sprawling inward like a convulsing beast. The air grew thick, hot, suffocating, but the journal glowed brighter, intensifying under her touch, guiding her through the tempest. More! It seemed to scream. Force them back. They only have power over you if you let them. She pushed against the wall, her voice gaining strength. You don't control me. I have the light. With every repetition of her mantra, the shadows thrashed violently, their forms distorting, trembling as the brightness enveloped them, fighting the terrifying grip of despair. Her fear turned into fury, igniting a fire within her she never knew she had, and then came a moment of clarity amidst the chaos. With each utterance they shrieked, merging into one horrifying visage, her mother, eyes wide and pleading from within the darkness. Help me, the spectre cried, stretching an ethereal hand toward Mia. No! She wouldn't be another lost soul, trapped by the darkness of this twisted household. I won't let you take me, or her. Mia's heart hammered against her ribcage, but she channeled her fear, ignited by the flickering of her memories. In a last-ditch effort, she slammed the journal open and pointed it at the advancing shadows. Beware! You'll never have me! The journal shuddered in her grasp, pages flapping wildly as it glowed with an intensity that lit up the entire room, casting shadows back into the corners. She recited her mother's protective incantations again, louder, more ferociously than before. The air crackled with electric tension, and the figures writhed, contorting under the force of her defiance. But a final, deep growl resonated, an ominous sound that shook the very foundation of the pantry, and the shadows swelled larger, angrier. The reclaimer roared back, its presence clawing at her senses. It would not relinquish its hold so easily. Mia's footing quaked, the floor breaking beneath her. I won't submit. I am my mother's daughter. With one last cry, she thrust the journal forward like a weapon, unleashing the power she had gained with every iteration of her truth. Light erupted, dazzling and fierce, blinding the darkness momentarily. She could feel the weight of anguish shatter, the choking fog begin to evaporate. But then, a heartbeat of silence shattered by a bone-chilling howl echoed through the air. In that instant, the light flickered. Time wavered. The pantry trembled. And it dawned on her, was it the end of the shadows or merely the beginning of an even deeper darkness? Mia's heart lurched. Gripped by uncertainty, she waited, pulse racing, breath caught in her throat. What else waited in the depths? Would the reclaimer rise again, or had she just opened a doorway to something worse? The light dimmed as quickly as it had erupted, choking back the last remnants of hope. Mia was swallowed by a heavy darkness again, clutching the journal like a lifeline. Her breath hitched in her throat. Shadows morphed and twisted, writhing like snakes, a chaotic dance of despair that kept her heart pounding. The air crackled again, thickening with despair, and her mind raced. Somewhere in the swirling blackness, she could feel the reclaimer's presence, more palpable than ever. It was no longer a vague threat, it clawed at the edges of her sanity, sinking jagged teeth into her resolve. Mia's voice crept through, soft yet sinister, slithering between the fragments of her thoughts. You think you can fight me? You are weak. You will always be weak. No! She cried out, her voice trembling. You're wrong. I'm not weak. I have the light. But it felt like a hollow echo in response. The darkness clung tighter, suffocating her defiance. She felt her heartbeat, frantic and wild, an ominous drum signaling her imminent doom. For a moment, doubt hung like a poisoned dagger above her head. Was she really strong enough to defeat this malevolent force? With shaky resolve, she turned to the journal, desperately flipping its pages, searching for a sign, for the spark that would guide her through this nightmare. Words seemed to swim as fear clouded her vision, but then she caught sight of a passage illuminated ever so slightly by the flicker of her fading courage. Seek within, for the greatest battles lie in your own heart. It struck her like a lightning bolt. She didn't just have to stand against the reclaimer, she needed to confront the shadows lurking deep within her soul. This wasn't just a fight against a monster in the dark, it was a reckoning with the pain that had made her weak. The shadows howled, encircling her as Mia's resolve hardened. She knew she had to reach into the depths of her fears. Drawing a deep breath, she shouted, "You want me? Then let us face it together." With an intensity born from desperation, she began to speak her truths, her fears as they had manifested in the dark corners of her life, the loss, the betrayal, the guilt. Each confession pulled her deeper into a struggle with the reclaimer and spiritual shadowlings that danced around her, the flickers of doubt slipping from her mind. I am not defined by my failures. I am not broken. Those words anchored her, strengthened her. The air pulsed vibrantly, igniting her resolve as light began to seep from beneath her skin, warmth radiating outward. Tears welled up as memories flooded her mother's laughter, the way warmth felt on a cold night, the connection with every human touch. The shadows began to shrink back, howling in rage and confusion. They tried to envelop her once more, to absorb her newfound strength, but Mia was unyielding. You're afraid of what I can become. I won't let you win. The ground shook as the reclaimer, furious and desperate, reared back with a growl that echoed through the very marrow of her being. The weight of its wrath pressed down on her, threatening to divide her once more. But she stood firm, her heart a beacon against the encroaching doom. Light exploded from her journal once more, bathing the pantry in an unearthly glow that illuminated even the darkest nooks. "This is my home," she declared. "And you have no power here." Suddenly, everything went dark, a void of silence wrapping around her. Mia gasped, heart racing. Where had the light gone? In that moment of complete emptiness, fear gripped her anew. What if she had gone too far? Had her defiance summoned even darker things? As she stumbled forward, disoriented, she heard a soft whisper, intimate and chilling, echoing from the shadows. "You may have fought the darkness, but are you ready for what lies beyond?" A cold shiver ran down her spine as dread settled in. What had she truly unleashed? Mia took a shaky breath, the air crawling with unknown dangers. Was this just the beginning? Fear pulsed within her as she prepared for whatever came next. The silence was oppressive, a living entity pressing against her skin. Mia blinked, her eyes straining to adjust to the pitch black. The shadows that had retreated now hovered just beyond her reach, murmuring secrets she couldn't decipher. Her heart raced, pounding like a war drum in her ears, drowning out any coherent thought. "Mia," the voice returned, softer, almost seductive, weaving through the darkness. "You've tasted a fraction of the light, but do you know its price?" She shuddered, the words wrapping around her throat like a noose. "What do you want from me?" "Everything you have," it whispered, the breath of its unseen form chilling her to the bone. "You think your revelations have made you whole? You're still broken, Mia. I offer power if you let go." "No!" she shouted, though the conviction in her voice trembled. "I want it given to you." The darkness responded with a caustic laughter, echoing off the walls, making them shudder. "You already have by acknowledging me." Panic clawed its way up her throat. Mia stumbled forward, haphazardly reaching out to feel for a wall or some kind of stability. The pantry felt endless, a sinister labyrinth designed to break her spirit. Her fingers grazed cold wood, splintered and rough. She inhaled sharply, trying to anchor herself against the suffocating dread, and then, in the void, she sensed movement. Something thick and slick brushed against her leg. A low growl vibrated through the ground, rattling her bones. Her breath hitched. "What's there?" "Things hidden, Mia. Things you refuse to see." The whispers rose around her, swirling like a tempest. "Come closer. Let them show you." With every pulse of fear, the shadows lengthened, matching her anxiety. She swallowed hard, reminding herself of the words in the journal, the truths she had been brave enough to voice. "No! I'm not afraid of you." In that instant, the darkness shuddered, as if her defiance had struck a nerve. From the depths, a shape began to emerge. A figure, wretched and contorted, uncoiled itself from the darkness. It was a twisted reflection of Mia's deepest fears, a grotesque amalgamation of loss and guilt. It raised its head, revealing hollow eyes that seemed to eat the light around them. "You don't know the half of your darkness," it rasped. Mia staggered back, the sound reverberating in her chest like a drumroll leading to her doom. "Get back! Only if you accept what you truly are." The creature lunged. Desperately, Mia jerked her body to the side, feeling the rush of cold air against her skin. She had to run. She needed to escape this nightmare. Adrenaline shot through her as she darted into the disorienting abyss. She stumbled forward, struggling to maintain her footing, the walls closing in. Each echoing footstep reminded her that the darkness was alive and aware, creeping closer. Mia, the Reclaimer's voice coiled around her, sweet like poison. "Don't run. You can't escape what's inside." Suddenly, a flicker of light burst to life along the journal she still clutched. She grabbed it and turned, a shaky beam illuminating a narrow path ahead. The shadows recoiled, screaming as they were abruptly cast into semi-transparency. "Your light isn't strong enough," the creature wailed from the gloom, anger twisting its broken face. But she felt it surge within her. In that moment, a fragment of hope ignited. "You'll never win! I'm stronger than you think." The light brightened, overwhelming the darkness, pushing it back. But as the shadows retreated, a chilling laughter broke through. "This is merely a facade, Mia. You haven't seen the depth of your despair yet, and you will." With her heart racing, Mia knew the battle was far from over. The darkness was testing her, watching for weakness, waiting for her resolve to falter. As the corridor of light seemed to pulse and flicker, she realized this was only the beginning of her reckoning. But what awaited her beyond the light? Mia hesitated, knowing that stepping forward could unleash the depths of her fears once again. Would she find the strength to silence the reclaimer completely, or would she succumb to the shadows that thrived on her pain? Dread crawled back into her mind as she stepped closer to the unknown. Mia's heart thudded as she took a tentative step into the narrow path. The journal pulsed with warmth, its light flickering like a desperate flame against the heavy darkness. Each careful movement sent shivers down her spine, the shadows whispering promises of torment just beyond her reach. "Don't think the light will save you," the beast hissed, its breath hot and rancid. "You are too far gone." Mia clenched her jaw, trying to block the words from cutting deeper. "I'm not listening to you," she shot back, her voice cracking under the weight of fear. But she felt it. The insidious truth creeping in like a slithering serpent, ready to wrap around her heart. Then she heard it. A soft, rhythmic tapping against the walls, echoing like a sinister heartbeat. It didn't come from the creature, but from the very shadows that surrounded her. The sound grew louder, rising to a thundering crescendo, and Mia pressed forward as panic surged. The light from the journal illuminated twisted shapes in the corners of her vision, faces filled with agony, mirroring the fears she had buried. "Remember us, Mia," they whispered, voices overlapping in a haunting chorus. "Remember when you turned away? When you left us behind?" Each phrase clawed at her spirit, drawing forth the memories she had tried to forget. Friends she abandoned, promises unfulfilled. Guilt coiled around her chest, squeezing tighter with every flicker of darkness. "Mia!" A sharp cry sliced through the chaotic whispers. It was familiar, cutting through her like a knife. She turned and froze, her breath hitching. Through the luminous barrier, a figure emerged, her reflection, but not quite. This version shimmered, adorned in a shroud of despair. Eyes wide and haunted, it pointed beyond her, fear etched into its expression. "It's coming!" it screamed. Mia twisted around, a jolt of terror striking her spine. The shadows writhed with newfound energy, an undulating mass coiling and expanding. The creature lunged again, hungry for her despair, its talons outstretched, reaching for her light. "Mia!" The reflection cried out again, frantic. "You can't let it take you. You're stronger than this." She squeezed the journal tighter, feeling a warmth seep through her fingers. The light flared brighter in defiance. "I'm not afraid of you," Mia yelled, feeling the power surge within her, fueled by rage and stubborn resilience. "No?" The creature's laughter distorted, echoing through the darkness. "Let us see how long that lasts." The shadows seized the moment, surging forward like a wave. They twisted around her ankles, wrapping tighter, threatening to drag her down into the brooding abyss. Anxiety clawed at her throat as she struggled to break free, her legs fighting against the oppressive pressure. "Focus!" her reflection shouted. "Use the light, Mia!" With every ounce of strength, Mia raised the journal high, letting the light explode forth. It illuminated the entire corridor, driving back the shadows with a brilliant glow. She felt the darkness retreat, heard the agonized screams echoing behind her. But just as the corridor opened, the shadows lashed out, snapping and biting at her resolve. Mia stumbled back, breathless and exasperated, heart pounding as the creature's hollow eyes glinted with malice. "This is only a taste, Mia. You think you can escape the darkness? You are tied to it. Embrace it." "No!" she cried again, stepping forward. "I will never be a part of you." With a final surge of will, she pushed the light toward the thickest part of the shadows, determined to break beyond the suffocating silence. But just as it blazed brilliantly, thunder rumbled outside, rattling the world above. The walls trembled, and cracks began to split the very fabric of the pantry. "It's only beginning," the voice slithered back into her mind, echoing with haunting certainty. The sun goes down, the darkness comes alive. And in that moment, as the shadows twisted and the walls quaked, Mia realized she wasn't just fighting against the darkness outside. She was fighting something far more profound within herself. What lay beyond the shining light? What could be waiting in the chaos, ready to pull her down into the depths of her darkest fears? She could only take one step closer. The shadows shrieked as the light pushed them back, yet the sound only made Mia's heart pound harder. Deep down, she knew that was only the beginning. Her resolve surged against the encroaching darkness, but it vibrated with a cruel hunger that swallowed each flicker of hope with malevolent glee. Mia, the creature rasped, its voice like nails on a chalkboard. Your light is just a temporary bomb. The darkness will always claw its way back. You can't fight what you are. She staggered, the weight of its words pressing down on her like lead. The reflection blinked in alarm. Don't listen. It feeds on your doubt. But just as she was about to respond, the walls shuddered violently, the ancient beams groaned under an unseen strain. A crack widened, and through it spilled a deeper darkness, heavier and thicker than what surrounded her. It coalesced into forms that sent fresh chills of terror racing down her spine, a writhing mass that echoed with the cries of the trapped, faces twisted in eternal agony. Turn back, the voice from the darkness wheezed. They're down here, waiting. Mia! Her reflection urged, fear radiating from its shimmering figure. Stay focused. We have to get through. With every ounce of strength, Mia raised the journal high again, beams scattering like stars against the oppressive shadows. But the darkness pushed back harder, roiling and bubbling up, seeking to drown out her light. Stop fighting, it purred, a sickening sweetness clinging to its tone. Join us. Embrace your pain. You can't escape it. Her heart raced, uncertainty gnawing at her. Old memories bled into the present, the guilt, the anger, the betrayal. Every moment of shame clawed at her, pushing her to the brink. No! I want tea! She screamed, focusing fiercely, willing her heart to beat with a renewed pulse of fire. But the more she resisted, the more vicious the shadows recoiled. They coiled tighter around her limbs, legs weighed down, dragging her like quicksand, pulled her closer to the spectral maw yearning to devour her. Mia! The reflection shouted, its voice now breaking. It's going to take you. You have to hold on. The light flickered wildly, threatened to extinguish under the strain. Panic swirled inside her, threatening deeper despair. I can't let it win, she gasped, eyes darting around for a weak spot in the encroaching tide. Confront them, the reflection said, a sudden determination lacing its words. You know the truth. Accept it. Your power lies in the scars, don't hide from your past. With a staggering breath, Mia braced herself against the terrifying revelation. The pain of all she had run from twisted inside her, and she started to reclaim it. I left them, she whispered into the oppressive void. But they're part of me, and I will not be shamed. As she spoke, a new light unfurled, broader and brighter, saturating the space in a warm hue. Instead of casting shadows, it glowed fiercely, as if made of memories transformed into strength and resilience. The darkness shrieked. It twisted violently, recoiling as if burned. Mia felt the chains binding her lift. The shadows slipped and wavered, horrified by her resolve. No! The creature roared in fury, clawing at her soul. The echoes of the damned screamed, trying to drown her confidence. But Mia stood her ground. You are not my master! The light exploded outward, enveloping her fully, leaving the black tendrils flailing in its wake. She felt herself rising, ascending, the darkness evaporating faster than vapor in the morning sun. Yet just as she thought she was free, a final clash rattled through the pantry, and the ceiling began to cave in. They will come for you, the creature's voice turned into a guttural growl that echoed through fallen debris. You can't escape the past. They are never gone. Mia gasped, eyes wide as the world around her swirled. Darkness hungered still. Whatever she had unleashed, something more profound than the creature lay just beyond the light. What would she face when the dust settled? Would her haunted memories rise again, ready to drag her back into the abyss? The ground shook. One last time, and her heart raced as she realized the path was just beginning. Mia braced herself against the deafening roar of the collapsing pantry. Dust filled the air, stinging her eyes, but panic would not claim her. She was no longer that scared girl hiding beneath the darkness. The shadows writhed, but she felt something profound shift within her, a power ignited by acceptance, a flicker of light breaking through the twisted fears. "Face it, Mia!" she cried, determination burning in her veins. "You are not alone. I will not let you win." The shadows recoiled, their shapes shifting like smoke, thrashing wildly at her defiance. The fleeting figures of her past emerged from the depths, her childhood friends, long-lost family, faces twisted with sorrow. They screamed as one, yearning for release. The darkness howled back, furious, "You are bound to them. Embrace your pain." Mia felt the weight of her fears clinging to her, but then, rising through their anguished cries, she remembered her mother's laughter, the warmth of home, and the beauty of love intertwined with sorrow. The memories flowed back, glittering through the black tendrils like stars breaking dawn. "I am defined by love. I am not my mistakes." With renewed resolve, she thrust the journal high, the pages fluttering with a newfound energy. The light exploded from within, wrapping around her with ferocity. It filled every corner of the pantry, pushing back against the shadows, illuminating the lost faces twisted in anguish. "You don't own them. They are part of my strength." As the light surged, the shadows screamed in desperation, their forms bubbling and breaking apart. The pantry walls seemed to tremble, and Mia felt an ancient power wrapped around her as she reclaimed her past, accepted her truth. Each acceptance illuminated her hopes and fears alike, blending them into something fierce and beautiful. "Mia!" A familiar voice pierced through the chaos. It was her mother, appearing briefly in the luminous glow, smiling but sorrowful. "You've done well, my love. Remember, it is the light that reveals the truth." Mom, tears sprang to Mia's eyes as she felt her mother's spirit wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. "I'll fight for us both." The shadows recoiled, losing their solidity, flailing helplessly against the power of the memories Mia summoned. "No!" The creature screeched as the light intensified, its wails reverberating through the pantry. Suddenly, a fissure split open in the floor, drawing in the shadows, their cries mingling with fury and fear. "You can't shut us away! We are your truth!" They screamed, but Mia stood firm. "The truth can be freeing, but I want to be bound by you." With a final flourish, she recited the incantation from the journal, each word a guttural roar of defiance. "I am not just a collection of fears, failures, and shadows. I choose to live in the light." The light engulfed her, washing over every corner of the room, bursts of iridescence spilling from the pages like stars born anew, cleansing the darkness. The pantry quaked as the shadows were swallowed by the brilliance, their twisted screams fading into silence. Mia gasped as the last remnants of darkness vanished, collapsing into the very ground it had emerged from. A wave of relief washed over her, and she fell to her knees, exhausted but exhilarated. The scent of her childhood home, warm and inviting, enveloped her, grounding her back to the now. The world felt lighter, sunlight threading through the cracks of the crumbling walls. The whispers of the shadows faded, leaving behind a gentle breeze, a promise of hope, of new beginnings. As she raised her head, the journal lay open in front of her, its pages now blank. The weight of the past had lifted, not forgotten, but accepted as part of her journey. Mia smiled, feeling a weight release from her heart. "We did it," she whispered to the air, a new bond forged in the echoes of love. Strengthened by the battle, she stood tall, resolve blooming. The path ahead might still be uncertain, but now she embraced it with arms wide open, ready to confront whatever came next. And outside, the sun cast its light, brightening the once darkened streets. Mia stepped onto the threshold of her own rebirth. She was not only a warrior of light but a child of hope, ready to forge a future where the shadows couldn't thrive. With one last glance back, she whispered, "Thank you," to the lingering whispers of her past, now forever a part of her. Then with a deep breath, she stepped forward into the world beyond. Now, this is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now. It really helps boost the channel and feeds the algorithm. And we want to keep bringing you these heart-pounding thrills. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about Mia's journey. Did she truly conquer her darkness? What do you think is next for her? And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support. You know it matters.